hello, everyone. This is Gail Turner Brown with another episode of the Entrepreneur's Journey. And this is where we come, where I bring to you the most fabulous cream of the crop entrepreneurs to share their story of how they went from ordinary to extraordinary. And so that you can see and emulate what it takes to be an amazing entrepreneur. And so today I am like super duper excited because I have the honor and the privilege and the pleasure of introducing to you to some, but some people may already know who this gentleman is. He is one of the teachers of the famous movie, The Secret. And it was amazing. That's actually the first time I ever met Mr. Bob Doyle. That was the first time I'd ever seen him. And there was a lot of teachers there, and I thought, he's kind of cute. Let me find out some more about him. I did. I was like, I was looking at the truth. So I was like, okay, I don't know anything about him. Let me follow him, as well as some of the other teachers. And so I asked him to come on. I'm so grateful that he told me yes, because we are going to talk about the law of attraction. And if you have any questions for those who are either here now, or if you're here watching the replay, post your questions. We're going to see if we can get them answered. But I have a ton of questions with a little bit of time I have for Mr. Bob Doyle. So first and foremost, I want to welcome him to our show. Thank you, sir, for being here.
It is my pleasure.
Like I said, I really want to have a conversation about the law of attraction because, and how you got started in this. And that's the main thing. That's the main thing I really want to kind of start. I always started out with what was your journey? Who were you before the famous movie, The Secret? And how did they come to talk to you about this, about being on The Secret?
Okay, I'm happy to answer that. Answer your question, like who was I before doing the law of attraction, and how that whole thing happened with The Secret.
Right.
So I'll try to tell the short version, but basically I was, I had thought that all my life I was going to be in radio, like ever since I was a kid. That's what my dad did. So everything I did in my life was aimed towards that career. What I studied in school, practicing around the house, just doing all of it. I just wanted to have the voice and be on the radio. And so when college came and I started working in a radio station during college and then a little bit outside after graduation, it just wasn't what I thought it was going to be, because I was in a major market and it didn't turn out to be the outlet of my creativity that I wanted it to be. There were too many restrictions on what I could do and not do, which makes sense. It's their radio station, and I have a very odd sense of humor, and it just doesn't, I couldn't express it. So I left radio and went actually into computers for a while. Basically, it was jumping around from career to career, trying to find something that I loved, because I just knew I had to love what I did for a living. There was no other option. So, but it was one failure after another. It was like I started to start my own businesses. They didn't work. I went to a job. All these various jobs had pieces of value for me, but they weren't definitely the end game for me. So I ended up going back to work for a company because my entrepreneurial efforts were not, working. Right. And so I was there for almost 4 years. And every year I was there, it was just like I was dying more and more inside, knowing this is so not what I want to be doing. What's wrong with me? Why is nothing I'm trying to do work? And that led me down because I felt like I was creative enough, intelligent enough, like these things I was trying should have been working. Why weren't they working? So because I couldn't logically come up with that answer, that's when I started looking down more paths that were more metaphysical or new agey in nature. It's like, well, why is nothing working for me? Like the everyday answers didn't make sense. So I started to look down other paths. Anyway, all of that led me to this whole concept that we create our realities and all of that. I'm like, well, and energy and the energetic nature of our universe, some of which I'd known and read about before, but this was really about putting the pieces together for myself so that I could change my life. So I was listening and reading in a new way. I was like, I really want answers here. This isn't just curiosity. What's going on here? So all of that eventually led to, it's a long story, so I'm going to cut it completely out and just say I ended up finding the material that talked about the quantum physics of this whole conversation around creating our reality, the science behind it, and specifically the power, the energetic power of our thoughts and our beliefs, and what impact that has on our experience of reality. And this made sense to me. Like, as much as I wanted to believe the sort of simple, new agey, metaphysical, just visualize and that, it just didn't work for me. I had to know that I wasn't following some crazy, woo-woo. I'm not anti-woo-woo now, because really I understand that woo-woo and all things around it really can be scientifically explained if you're willing to look at it. But back then I couldn't make that leap. I had to know, no, this is real. So once I knew that there's science behind this, then I could own, and it really was empowering, because now I could look at my own thoughts and beliefs in life and go, the condition of my life now, is this or is this not congruent with my belief system around money and success and all of that? Because I realized that even though I said out loud, I want a career that's successful, I want to work at home, I want, like I knew what I said I wanted, but what I wasn't acknowledging was my internal beliefs around success and money, which were very limiting because of how I grew up in a single family home. My mother was a teacher, didn't get a lot of money. I grew up with debt and not enough. And so those were my beliefs. And I had to change that energetic program that was running in me if I was going to literally be able to attract even ideas, the right action steps to take in the direction that was going to get me where I was now saying I was going to go. So my belief systems had to be in alignment with what I said I wanted. And once that happened, everything started taking off. I will breathe here if you want to jump in with something, and then I can talk about how the secret happened.
Okay.
To answer the second part of your question.
No, but that's good. But you know what? I hear this. You said something, and I've got to ask this question. What does it mean when someone says woo-woo? Well, because I hear that a lot. It was like, oh, that's that woo-woo stuff. What does that mean?
I think that's just a blanket term to cover anything that seems mystical or unexplainable or supernatural, or that just obviously can't be explained very simply by the average person with even a lot of knowledge about how we've learned that the world works. If it doesn't fit into that paradigm of what we've been taught in school or whatever we can explain with the current scientific, that then falls into woo-woo. It's like, oh, well, that's just woo-woo, because you can't accept that's a woo-woo magic, whatever. It's in a lot of ways, it's a derogatory term, but those who really embrace the woo-woo celebrate it and know that, oh, we love the woo-woo, right? And like I'm saying, I now embrace the woo-woo and all things that I would have considered woo-woo, because a lot of those things, and woo-woo, isn't that fun to say?
Yeah, right. And
but once you understand the physics of it.
Well, and here's the thing. I don't want to get off on another. I'm trying to think. I want to say this correctly. I don't want to disparage anything or anybody's belief system. But in my view, I don't think anything is more woo-woo than some of the things that I was raised when I was raised in the Christian faith. I mean, that sounds kind of woo-woo to me. Somebody parting the Red Sea and turning water into wine. Even though I think that'd be kind of cool to do. That seems woo-woo to me. And so
you make an excellent point, and it's really indicative of how our minds, the minds of today, have been shaped and limited. Even the smartest people on the planet have limited thinking in a lot of areas. They may have just a tremendous amount of knowledge and intellect and be changing the world with their brilliance. There's no question. But there are going to be areas where they maybe don't look or aren't aware. All of us as human beings have unbelievable amounts of potential that we aren't realizing. Even the most accomplished of us. And we can do things that seem supernatural, spontaneous self-healing, and all sorts of things.
Right.
Which just means we can do this. We're built to do this. Whether we as individuals can do it or not is not about whether it can be done. It's about ourselves allowing the energy to work within us to make it happen. And that is determined by things like belief systems and the education we've got, what we consider to be big and small and woo-woo and not woo and all of that stuff. Those are the things that limit our experiences.
Right. Okay. So, and that makes perfectly good sense. And I know when you were on your show yesterday, I know you made a comment about how we can do extraordinary things, and it's just how our mind. And I think I saw something on Facebook today. I cannot remember what this person was doing, but it was literally, you're watching this, and it's like, I cannot believe this person is doing this, and so it made me think about it. When you brought it to our attention yesterday, I thought about it. I was like, yeah, it's really true. So as you went through that journey, and then getting into the metaphysics of it, getting to the science of it, the neuroscience of it, how did Rhonda Burns? I'm assuming that's who tapped you, or however. How did you get from that to getting onto this movie?
So when I started having my breakthroughs with it, I just created a course called Wealth Beyond Reason to start teaching what I was learning. I was literally months into the process before I started to create this. And it was a small program at first, but over the course of time, as I became more committed to, really exploring all facets of this, especially the stuff that was stopping people from getting results with it.
Right.
The more content was created, the more interviews that I did, the more downloads I had, the thing became huge. And so 3 years later, now Rhonda Byrne is researching the law of attraction for this project, and she found my stuff. It had been established for a few years, and I think so. There's when you watch The Secret, the teachers all have all kinds of backgrounds. We have some ultra spiritual people, we have everyday normal guy, we have doctors, we have clergy, we have all sorts of people represented, and I think that my voice in that is one of just this everyday person who just, is not a guru, is not, not years and years in the personal development industry or anything like that, nor did I have any aspirations to do any of that. Right. That wasn't what drove me. Wasn't about becoming a Tony Robbins or even a Jack Canfield or any of those people. I just was excited about the opportunity to share what was making a difference for me. And I had those skills because of all the jobs I'd had up to that point. I learned how to do internet stuff. So I was able to take all my skills put together in this video, and then not video, but in this program. And over the course of time, I began to get a name for myself and all of those things. And then so when The Secret came around and she offered it, at this point, I had been approached by several different people with big projects that they wanted to do, and none of them happened. They all just were big ideas that fell through. But so when she called me and said, I've got this idea for a movie, blah, 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 I'm thinking, here's another one of those things that isn't going to happen. But then she goes, well, I've got a trailer that we put together to sort of sell the concept of it. So would you like to see it? And I'm really truly expecting like a PowerPoint presentation. Our vision for the movie is, that, but no, it was a full on big budget produced thing. And I'm like, okay, this woman is for real. Right. So I said, yes, I said, however I can be involved. And then that's it. So that's how it happened.
So what did that do for you? Well, let me ask this, because someone mentioned something to me and I said, I promise I'm going to ask this. So since then, do all of the teachers now know each other? Or you guys still, you were maybe filmed at different times or whatever, and you still really don't all know each other very much?
It's the latter. I think most of those guys do know each other because, again, a lot of those people have been in this industry for way longer than I have.
Right.
And so many of them actually came from. So here's a little trivia for you. When Rhonda first called me, there were only going to be 8 people in the whole thing. She had them all picked. I was one. I'm thinking, great. So she went to this meeting called the Transformational Leadership Conference Council. You probably know TLC.
Yeah.
And that's where they all are. The Marcys, the Jacks, all of them. All those guys are in the movie, just about. Were part of that. And so she hit this treasure trove. It was like, oh my God. So she did all these interviews. And so it became a much bigger collection of teachers. So right. I know some of them. Like Marcy and I are dear friends. I know Joe. I love Mike Dooley. I know, and I've met Jack on several occasions, Bob Proctor on several occasions, just a handful of these people. But some of them I've never met and may never meet.
Right.
But I've only seen the movie 4 times, the last time being several years ago with Lynn when we first came together. She wanted to see my parts. Isn't that nice?
Yes, that's so nice.
But I'm like, and every time I watch it, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot they were in there. So, just anyway, so that's that little piece of trivia. We don't all know each other.
Okay, I was curious. I didn't think so. I had a feeling that, but as you said, so now have you since then become a guru? Because the movie was a huge success, and I know you must have gotten a lot of attention. So what we're like kind of like what has happened as a result of that?
I'd actually love to share this with you, because so nobody could have anticipated except Rhonda how big this thing was going to be. I mean, that was her vision, but we were all like, well, we'll see, right? Nothing like this had ever been done before.
Right.
So when the Secret released, they had the Secret.tv website, and all of the teachers were featured, boom, front and center, right? Selling our products. I mean, it was huge. The visibility and the exposure that I received all of a sudden was, clearly unlike. I mean, I'd gotten myself out of tremendous debt. I'd built a successful business all on my own with my own little internet business. So then the Secret comes along and blows everything up. It's like, whoa, okay. But here's what happened. So here I am, Bob Doyle, normal guy who built this business, right? And I've been doing this thing and I'm going along just fine. Now all of a sudden I'm Bob Doyle from the Secret, and all of these people want to work with me, right? And so all these marketer types and all these people said, we're going to help you take your thing to the next level, blah, blah, blah. Let us work with you. And I'm going, oh, okay. And at that moment, I made a decision that was not the best decision. And that was to trust, to I guess, move away from doing things how I had been, which was really this is just Bob doing this. And it wasn't that my ego got in the way. It was about like, yeah, I'm a guru now, because I've never wanted that. And I've never considered myself that, even though guru is really just a word for teacher. So in that respect, yeah, I'm a teacher, but we're all teachers. We're all teaching all the time. But I didn't want any of that big stuff. So, but all these marketers and stuff were saying, this is how you need to position yourself. So I just trusted that they were going to help build the business. But it actually did a lot of damage, because, I said yes to some things I probably shouldn't have, or I just trusted that this process would work for my people, and it didn't. And things broke down. And I learned a really valuable lesson on all of that. Because following your own passion and following your own heart and following your vision is super important. And when you give that up because all of a sudden you think someone else knows better than or whatever without the proper research, it can, cause some problems. But the other thing that happened after The Secret was that it went out there, and some people loved it immediately, because when it first was shared, it was only to those people who were basically on the email list of the people who were in the film. So you're going to get thumbs up basically all the way across the board. Right. It was when people started saying, hey, friend of mine or family member, come on over. You got to see this. You need this, or that's the worst thing. You need to see this, right? That's the worst way.
Yeah.
So then you've got mixed reactions. Some people go, I believed this all my life. I never knew there was a word for it. I got it, blah, blah, blah. Thank you. And then there's the other people who are throwing stuff at the screen going, this is a bunch of crap. What are you talking about? Why are you, how can you believe this? Right. Yeah. And there were so many misconceptions that people walked away from, so many oversimplifications that people walked away from, stuff that they did not, that was in the film that they didn't see. Like, in other words, that, why is it only about money? Well, what about the health section, the relationship section, and the world peace section, and all that? They don't even see that. All they remember is, this is only, so people take out of that experience what they bring into it. Yeah. And if they bring in a belief system that is one of lack and things don't work out and it has to be hard and, it can't be easy, then they're going to look at this and feel like, who are these people telling me this? I didn't attract this bad thing. I didn't do this. How about this? How about this? All fair, totally fair reactions. Because look, what they don't realize is it is the very law of attraction at work that has created their experience of life. Right. It's not a defect. This is the thing that a lot of people got offended, because if something bad happens in their life, they're thinking that we're like blaming them. It's your fault that this bad thing happened. Well, nobody wants to hear that. And that's not helping anybody. And that's not what anyone's saying. But I will say this. Things move into the meat of the law of attraction, the way that I describe it, which is way different than other people do, is that, we bring things into our experience by moving into vibrational alignment with them. Now, there's a lot of science that has to be taught to make that not sound woo-woo. So if there's a person out there going, oh, vibration, energy, whatever, just okay. But if you want to block that out by not even exploring it, okay, well, I'm just saying that you're turning your back on amazing opportunity to shift the direction of your life. If you'll just put the skepticism aside, because I had to put it aside for a minute, look at it, try it, and just, but there's a lot to learn, guys. That's the whole point, is that the oversimplified, like attracts like, build a vision board and it'll appear. That's why people are pissed off. They're like, I tried it, didn't work. Well, okay. You didn't. And so, because it's the oversimple. So that's why our program is so much about explaining the science of it. Right. First of all, because all those exercises that people tell you to do, they're going to be completely ineffective if you've got some conversation going on in your mind about, this is a bunch of crap, but I'll try it anyway. Right. Because when you understand what that energy is that you're putting out there, we're all emanating energy. If you don't believe that we're all energy, then we have nothing to talk about, because that's completely proven. So, exactly. And so we're clearly all connected in all this, and we're emitting all the time. But we can't be telling the universe no to something vibrationally and expect it to show up.
Exactly.
Now, but that doesn't mean that. But well, let me put it this way: you can say no to something and have it show up if you're getting into the feeling of the no. Let me explain this. So you can say, I don't want this. I don't want this to happen. Well, you're putting all your attention on what you don't want and moving into the feeling, that bad feeling. That's what you're vibrating, and that's what you're actually attracting more of.
Yes. Yeah. And, I have to tell you this, because it totally hit me. I kind of had this feeling along the way, and I kept trying to dismiss it. So on November 9th, no, maybe about the 10th, I decided to go back and watch The Secret again. And luckily, I have the original. I like the original. I'm sorry, I just do. But
I think that's pretty much universal.
Yeah, I just do. And so there was a segment, I think it's closer toward the end, when Esther Hicks, Abraham, whatever, talked about what you just said. It's like, if you have that war on poverty, you're focused on poverty. If you're having a war on terrorism, you're focused on terrorism. If you're having an election and you're constantly talking about who you don't want and wherever that energy is going, that's what's going to show up. And it's go ahead.
It's so funny that clip where all those people are saying that would have been a great thing to pass around during the election. I never saw anybody post that.
Yeah,
but that is exactly.
I was scared. At a point, I was like, you know what? I don't want to post nothing. There was just so much negativity in there.
Oh yeah.
But it really it made sense. And I thought about it a little bit along the way, but I kept trying to dismiss it. Oh, well, maybe it really won't work this time. It really won't work this time. But that is exactly what was happening. And I think and I don't really know, I'm kind of glad that you brought that up, because I don't really know how do we now turn around the things that we do want, not just with that particular individual or the way things are going, but I just kind of have a feeling that in general, we're on an earthly basis, that we're in an energetic shift, that things are just happening, on an energetic, universal level, that things are starting to shift, and that there's a shakeup. It always comes out good because, and you said it to me yesterday, nothing is good or bad. It's only what our thoughts are. It's only how we perceive it. And so I'm just wondering, how do we kind of help people get into more of a focusing on what we do want in our personal lives, as well as in our communities and on a global scale in general?
Well, that is the zillion-dollar question, because getting people realigned with what their passions are and having them follow it is the answer to it all.
Right.
If everybody would literally, I mean, we're all born with these gifts and passions and interests and things and proclivities to do certain things, and we excel at this and not so much at this, and yet we're all jammed through this one system, or
Right.
however many, a finite number of systems. So this is how you be an adult. This is how you grow up and be responsible, and this is how you and it. So it just start. We have a few good years of play, and then it just becomes, now we're going to wedge you into this. And we do the best we can with it. We try to stay happy. We try to stay motivated. We try to do the best with whatever situation we've been wedged into and try and be happy and prosperous. But this is not how it's supposed to be. It's just the system we've been put through. So we as adults, we have a lot of work to do. We're all messed up. We've been taught limitation and all of this for generations. So there's a very strong energy. So it's up to the people who are awake to this. And I'm not saying that you're better than another person. It's just, this is something that we're noticing that other people aren't, that it doesn't have to be this way, that we can choose joy, that we can take action towards our dreams every day, because really that's law of attraction aside. Forget the woo woo, forget the energy, forget all of the stuff. If you have a vision for your life, that that if this was my life every day, I would wake up joyous and joyous. If you're not taking a step, a micro step at least every day towards that, why not? It's action that's going to bring you there. It's action. Even with the law of attraction, you're going to be taking action, and probably more massive action than you've ever taken before. Because if you had been taking action before, you wouldn't be stuck anymore. So if you want something huge and you want something to change, be ready for the universe to move you into action through intuitive nudges, chance meetings, whatever, ideas of any action to take, and then you got to take it.
Right. So, okay, so one of the questions is being asked, and hello everybody that is watching. Barb is here, Winnie is here. I had a couple of people that kind of have come in, and they're posing a couple of questions. So let's say, and you mentioned this, that you were in a pound of debt and everything. So if you're looking at, if you're in the muck, and now you got somebody saying, well, you got to focus on what you want. And it's like, hello, I am in all of this muck. All I can see is muck. What methods, what techniques, whatever can you use to see through the muck and what you really want?
All right. First of all, you have to realize that this whole thing about I'm in the muck, I can't see anything else, is not true. It's a limited belief, and it's a cop-out, and we all do it. So it's not, it's like, I'm so mired, I can't possibly even see anything. Yeah, it's hard. It's not impossible.
Right.
Okay. So you have to give yourself a little tiny taste of the positive. Right. Okay. Again, I don't want to confuse this and let people think that I'm saying that positive thinking is the answer to everything, because that's really old school and not what we're talking about. Right. But if you're mired in negativity, you have to be able to, it's there. You have an opportunity for as Abraham calls it, contrast, right? So you've got, I don't like this. So instead of looking at this and going, I hate this, and making it grow and grow and grow with your attention on it, which is what you're doing. Right. You've got to say, what would be the opposite of this? And just imagine it for a minute. Give yourself a few brief, sweet moments of allowing the feeling of being free from this. Right. And little by little, you'll work that energetic muscle so that you can begin to create a vision. Because I'm telling you, you're not going to solve the problem from this space. Right. You're not thinking creatively. You're not in the flow. You're all about impossibility. Right. So you have to be able to access. And here's what's going to happen. Your ego is going to scream bloody murder. Don't you see what's wrong here? You can't afford to have this positive thought. That's so irresponsible of you. Wow, airy fairy woo woo is this, right? But think, that's right. There is no answer living in the muck. None. The only possibility lives over here. So you have to do whatever it takes. And if it's hard, okay, it's hard. So you're either going to say, well, it's too hard, so I'm going to resign myself to misery for the rest of it. Or I'm going to go through this little bit of weirdness, of this little battle with my ego to allow myself a good thought. Or I'm going to go hire a coach, or I'm going to do something, get some help. To shift this way of thinking, because I can't see new possibility looking over here at the problem. Right. You have to be able to say, well, just make something up. Right. Just enough to just get a little bit of looseness in your energy so that you're not so tight, not so constricted, and the information can actually flow to you.
Right. And I think that's the reason why and where the objects, or I'll use the word props, like the vision boards. It's like if you're in the muck now, let's put a nice clean paradise for you to look at, so you're not looking at your crap, and that kind of helps you to move toward your paradise. So I think that was one of the reasons why the vision boards have come into place,
Yeah.
because it kind of helps bring you into what you really want to see. Because I do also think that people have a really hard time seeing through their vision because they're constantly looking through their eyes, if that makes sense.
Well, I can certainly interpret that one way. Like for me, the way I would immediately interpret that is that they're looking at their situation. They're going, this is reality. How can I possibly envision something else? Like I don't see any way that I can get from here to there. So you're right. They're looking in their eyes. They're using their own intellect, and they're not opening themselves up to the infinite possibility that we're all afforded to being in a universe that is infinite in nature. This is the thing. We forget that we're a part of this miracle called the universe. And if you just look at what's going on in the universe and how freaking magical it is that any of this exists, to put limitations on ourselves, arguably one of the most amazing creations in the universe, with consciousness, the ability to move and interact and create and all of these things. The whole idea that we're limited in the way that so many of us are telling ourselves is ludicrous. And it's just something that's been taught. We just have believed it. That's it. There's no truth to it at all, except the truth that we give it. We've seen over and over again how man evolves and adapts when he sees new possibility, the 4-minute mile, all these other things. One person does it, suddenly it's possible for all these people. Guys, that's life. That's how it is. We haven't even begun to tap in. But being conscious creators, using the law of attraction, is something that we're born with. It's what we're here for. We wouldn't be born with imagination and passion and interest and all, and be the ability to take action and interact with this universe that we're experiencing if we weren't able to realize it, if we weren't able to bring it into our reality. Because everything else in the universe is just it's just perfection and balance and all of this. Why would we be the broken piece? Why would we be born with all of these desires and things with an inability to realize them? It doesn't. Limitation doesn't really make sense. Right.
So why do you believe that some people had such a negative reaction? Because as I'm listening to you, now I watched the movie, oh my God, especially during certain times, I'm like, no, I need to look at this, because I need to have somebody else telling me that everything is possible, because my brain was telling me something else. So when I think I had shared with you, when I talked to people and mentioned that I was going to have you on, there were some that had really negative. It's like, oh my God, that's a bunch of junk. There are a lot of people who have written books that have said all of this stuff is a bunch of junk. And in the movie, and you're saying we can do whatever we want. That should make people feel good. Why do you think there were so many people that had resistance to this?
A million reasons, and they're all going to be different. But one is they've tried it before and they've been burned. They've been down, or they had a dream, they had a goal, they trusted someone, and for whatever reason they didn't get it, and they made it mean that it can't work that way, or whatever, or that's just their belief system that they've always been tuned into. You got to work hard for this. You can't get something for nothing. It's just in there. And so it's an insult to their intelligence to be told that, hey, all you got to do is this, right? So depending on their temperament, their background, they can have all sorts of reactions. One just like, whatever, blow it off, or anger, just fury, right? I had a gal. I was at an event shortly after The Secret was really exploding, and I was in a live event, and this gal came up to me. She'd had a few drinks, which only made it a little bit more in my face. And she was just reading me the riot act because she knew someone or whatever who had seen The Secret, who was sick, and, trusted the law of attraction to heal him instead of whatever. Well, that's not the law of attraction's fault, nor is it The Secret's fault or anybody aside from his decision. Right. So, and no one in the film said that. No one said ignore your medical professionals. So it's just, again, you're going to find, if you go in with a preconceived notion or a prejudice of any kind or a bad experience, and you get triggered by this film, which it absolutely happens. Right. Then it can bring out just a lot of deep stuff, how unfair life is, how come things don't work for me. I wish that would happen, so it's just a lot easier to argue against it because you have no evidence in your life that anything we said is true, even though actually you're surrounded by it. But what you don't have is you don't have the ability to take responsibility for the fact that, my thoughts, my beliefs, my feelings for years have been this, and they're congruent with this. I've been blaming my circumstances for how I feel, not realizing that how I'm feeling about my circumstances is actually what's perpetuating the circumstances. So it's just that we just don't know how the energetic impact of our thoughts. And so we don't think about that when we watch a film like The Secret. We're just like, that doesn't make sense to me. I'm rejecting it. Right. But what could be possible? What could be possible if they would just learn? We spent our whole young adult lives educating ourselves to create, in theory, to create a life we love, right? Our dream job, blah, blah, blah. That so rarely happens. After tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars in the investment in the education, the time, the agony, right? And then they go through the whole thing and they're still not happy. So, what I'm saying is, okay, look, I'm asking you to, yes, learn a whole new way to look at the universe. One that is based on science that we're just beginning to understand. This is progress, I'm asking you to acknowledge that, maybe we are really, truly extraordinary as human beings and can do amazing things. Why don't you take the time to educate yourself on it and see for yourself? Because then your life completely changes. Or you can just say, I am not willing to take the time to invest in that. It sounds silly to my ego. I'm not going to do it. I will just continue to be angry or compromise for the rest of my life rather than explore this thing that may or may not work for me for a short amount of time. It's just, we don't want to be fooled. We don't want to be duped. We don't all of those things. That's an inside job. If you feel duped, fine. If you feel fooled, fine. No one's duping or fooling you unless you feel that way.
Right. So talk about, because I do know this also happens. So a lot of times people now look at that group of teachers who are teaching these philosophies, and they come to believe, okay, they're not so much they're perfect, but they've got it now all together. And then they look at maybe a couple of people that they've seen that negative things have happened to, or something has happened in their life. And they go, see, I told you it wasn't, it didn't really work because that person was in The Secret and look what happened to them.
Right.
What do you say to that person? Do you guys have it all together and all figured out and life is absolutely fantastic?
Well, life is fantastic, but having everything figured out and not having human-like experiences and making mistakes, that's not even being human. So every single one of us, as far as I know, who was in The Secret is a human being, therefore subject to emotional swings, things happening that we're not expecting, emotional, reactions to things that may not be as conscious as we'd like to be if we were on the top of our game. We all have things like this. Gail, when I got divorced, my energy went whacked. Nothing worked. It has nothing to do with whether the law of attraction. It was in full effect. It was in full swing. My energy was crazy. I had all sorts of self-value problems, and just crazy. It was crazy. So I was attracting completely appropriately. And for me to go, I'm not attracting this. Hell yes, I am. I'm totally putting out all this negativity and fear and worry. And of course, this is what I'm going to attract. We all have it. It's a matter of navigating through it and coming back out on the other side, hopefully stronger for it, with more lessons to teach the people who are following us. We are not perfect. Right. That's crazy. Nobody, and you should not look for perfection in a person because you'll never attain that.
Right.
I feel like it's more important now than ever for the people who are the gurus or whatever to show the people who are following them that they too have life occur, because it can be very frustrating to try to be like this person and believe that they never have a problem, because that's not the case. Right. That's not the case. The idea, though, is that we do have some knowledge and some skill sets that allow us to navigate situations that happen to everybody, perhaps a little quicker than other people without the tools or something like that. We just have more information in this particular area. It does not mean that our lives are going to run perfectly and flawlessly. It's not, we're built with emotions ranging from not good to awesome. Right. And all of them are meant to be experienced.
Right. And one of the things, and wait a minute, I have to make a kind of a correction. You said everybody that was in The Secret was human, except for Abraham Hicks. They're kind of both. Esther
Okay.
Hicks. That's kind of interesting. Which I had no idea. I had never seen or experienced them before either. And because of that movie, I have since listened to her a lot, quite a bit. But I think that is really powerful to pay attention to. Is that a lot of people say let's get real, and you guys are real people. You have real experiences, and I think that's really it. It should be good because it's like, great, I can follow you and you have crap that happens. Okay, I know I must be on the right track because crap happens to me too. But at least to me, what you guys are teaching is it's not about the crap that does happen or the contrast, as Abraham talks about, is the fact that understanding where it's coming from and how to redirect your emotions to get into alignment with what you want.
Yeah. I mean, look, we all have an event can happen to three people, the exact same event, the exact same time, same place, same circumstances, and every single one of them experience completely differently.
Right. That's true.
Right.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
so it's all of this is just, it's a personal thing, and it comes down to taking responsibility for yourself, being willing to give up blame, being willing to give up all sorts of, you just have to give up a lot, like letting go of your limitations. That's really hard for people because a lot of people have defined themselves with their limitations. They're like, well, I'm just kind of a negative person, or I'm a skeptical person, or nothing ever works for me, or whatever. And this is their conversation. So they've defined themselves as that. The idea that they don't have to be that anymore on some level is terrifying to their ego, because if not that, then who am I? This is my identity. I've been this for 30 years. So that's why trying to just like get rid of that without a vision that you're moving into is like jumping off a cliff and you don't know where, it's just a hole. So the idea is if your life isn't how you want to have that vision, that really super inspiring vision, not just of the stuff that you're going to get or the external, but who are you? Who are you in this vision? And and how is that person different than this person right now? And what could this person right now change today to be more like that person? Because I promise you, there's a list of 5 things easily you could do to do exactly what you see this person doing now. Now, you don't have to wait until you get the $1 million to spend a little bit more time exercising or to write that book. You don't have to wait for so many of the things that you see yourself doing in this vision. You can start today. And guess what happens when you do that? You're energetically bringing yourself in alignment with being that person, accelerating this vision in a huge way. You can't just go, I want this huge vision, and then just sit here and wait for some miracle thing to happen. You have to move. You have to change. You have to be willing to go where the universe is trying to pull you. You can't fight it. So you have to be aware, though, that your ego will fight it for everything it's worth. It will come up with all the reasons, all the rationale, all the logic why you should not, under any circumstances, take that action. Because your ego is all about keeping you comfortable and safe. And this seems dangerous. It's an unknown.
Right. So I'm gonna shift it a little bit toward business, but in general, I'm curious, have you ever regretted things that took place, or are you just saying, you know what, stuff happens that didn't make me feel good, but I'm grateful that they took place? Is there anything in your past that you regret?
Yeah, I've actually had that thought lots of times, especially post-divorce, right? There's so many things that one could regret after a 26-year marriage. Was it regretting getting married? Was it regretting not taking action here? Was it regret? Well, there's so many things that I could go, oh, if only they would be different, but then I wouldn't be where I am, and and going in the direction I'm going. So I think regret's too strong a word. It's like I look back at some things and go, that was really unpleasant. And if I had it to do again, I might take other action, see what would happen. But regret serves no purpose. You can't undo. So you can only move. You can take the lesson. If it's a hard lesson, it's a hard lesson. If it hurts a little bit to think about, okay. But if it guides you in the right direction, then you can bless it.
Okay. I like that. That's awesomeness. I really like that. So how has all of this affected you in your business and moving forward?
Well, actually, it's especially this past couple of years, which you know because
Yeah.
you watch my online endeavors.
Yes, I did.
I've really taken on a whole new commitment to myself to love what I do for a living again, love my
Right.
career, love my business. I've been teaching the law of attraction the way I've been doing it for 12 years through programs and things like that. And quite frankly, my soul was saying, I've been doing this for a while. I'm going to continue to speak the message for the foreseeable future. But the way I was doing it before, putting all of my attention on email marketing and, all
Right.
that stuff, I really lost the passion for that. I love delivering the information, which is why I do things like this, which is why I do my live Q&A every week, on Facebook. But what's really calling me in terms of business and career is honoring, well, what are my other strengths that I have kind of been ignoring that I would love to bring to the forefront? So I've been doing more voiceover work. I'm doing the Bob Doyle show. I'm, just
Oh, yeah.
these other little things that have been calling me forth to, mobile app creation, just things that are creative for me and light me up.
Right.
That is honoring my I don't know, my spiritual career path, like
Right.
taking, even though I don't have all the answers and all of this, we live in a world where you can just try so much in terms of businesses for yourself. It wasn't like this pre-internet.
Right.
Now you can just try everything and you don't even have to overthink it. And so for a person like me who has just a ton of creative ideas and I'd like to explore each one, there's no reason to go through life going, why didn't I even try that
Right.
one thing? Try
Yeah.
it. And if you're really committed to it, like with my Bob Doyle show, the talk show thing, it's totally new ground. I don't know exactly what I'm doing except going up and showing up and having fun and committing that I'm never stopping until I reach that. Yeah, this is kind of what I wanted.
Yeah.
So the fun is the process is what I mean. It's like
Right.
you don't have to wait for the payoff to be grateful and celebrate success. The journey itself should feel successful.
And I'm gonna tell you, it's because of your show. It's really interesting. And again, we tend to project certain things onto people. So when so you watch a movie like The Secret, and automatically some people will put those teachers on this pedestal. Okay. And
Yeah.
so you feel like they're unattainable, they're unreachable. And so
Yeah.
when you and then you begin to also create an image that you think this person is like, right? And so when you started your show and I started watching it, I'm like, he is so wacky, which made me feel good because I thought I can really be me. Because, in my head, you're supposed to be this particular kind of, I don't know, professional guru kind of person, right? And so I'm like, wait a minute, he is really, really silly. But it was a lot of fun to watch. And for those people who have not watched it, you have got to see the Bob Doyle show on Wednesday and Fridays. It is, what did you said? You said you don't even know what you're doing. And that's the part that was a lot of fun because you'll get on there and just say whatever. I mean, just whatever.
And hope that it works. And hope that somehow it works. Yeah.
Yeah. And I will tell you, it does work because one of the reasons that I kept coming back was because it was so goofy. It was unconventional, but at the same time, you do give a lot of good content as well. So it's like I'm hanging out with someone that I know, and I'm really also getting some good information. So I just want to make sure that at least from me, that yes, it does work.
Well, no, are you kidding me? That's really, I still feel very tender in this area. So it's nice to know that that's happening. And that's what I feel like, especially the Wednesday thing. The Fridays, in terms of real content, who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah,
but Wednesdays, we're definitely we're talking about law of attraction for the most part, but you've seen it. It can veer. And it's so wonderfully freeing for me to do it this way because for 12 years, it's been, hi, I'm Bob Doyle, one of the featured teachers in the film The Secret. And if you've been having, that kind of thing, and it's like, because that was the expectation. And then I'm like, well, this is not fun for me anymore. In Russia, they wouldn't let me bring my uke on stage to do something because they just want the guru, right? They just want that. And that's so constricting. So the show is this great way for me to, at first, I'll be honest, it felt like it was like a rebellion against You know, like when I started the show, it's like, okay, this is going to be anti-guru. But
Right.
when I realized, well, it's still a part of who I am. And
Yeah.
so it's not, you know, I'm not rejecting The Secret or Law of Attraction teaching or anything, but I needed to bring it into a framework that I could really be me. And if I just wanted to stop talking in the middle of a sentence, I could do that, you know, or
Yeah.
put in
Yeah.
my
You
tape
know,
from Hot Pot this or that.
exactly, exactly. I know, and
Right.
let me tell you, I have told more people about you because nobody would think it's like you would not believe how goofy this guy is, you know. But it was a lot of fun, and it for me it helped give me permission. I felt to be the person that I wanted to be, as opposed to being, you know, who I was trying to construct myself to be, you know, that I needed to
Yeah.
be this like super professional. I needed to make sure, especially on these platforms, it's like, okay, I got to make sure that this works and that works and, you know, nothing screws up. And,
Yeah.
and you kind of helped for me to say, you know, if it does, it does. Just have fun first, you know, make sure that
Yes.
whatever you're doing, you're following your passion.
The, Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this, especially in this world of live personal broadcasting, you got to be real,
Right.
because if people want to see videos of people, they've got a million places where they can go watch a pre-recorded, stand-up, scripted, rehearsed thing.
Right.
But there's something about this, the reality of it, and the spontaneity of it, and stuff breaking. You
Yeah.
know, like
Oh,
right in the
yeah.
middle of the broadcast.
Yes.
You know, and
Yeah.
the difference is, you know, you got the people who break out into a cold sweat and shut down when that happens, or you
Right.
can just roll with it and go, well, okay. And that's obviously the approach that I've taken, is it just happened, and you just point to it and you have fun with it and you get back into it as soon as you can. And I've realized that, you know, there's the perfectionist in me who never considered something like that, wanted something,
Right.
it has to work. I'd be appalled if it didn't, to learning to celebrate that, and realizing that people don't turn off your show if something goes wrong, as long as they like you and you're engaging with them and providing them what they want in that moment. So
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
So this is really, really great stuff. And I know a ton of people have come in. I see Kat, I see Dorothy, got Raven has been through here. So there are a lot of people who are watching and want to know about this. I do want you to talk about your app. I shared with a friend of mine this morning when she found out that you were coming on. She's like, "Oh my God, he's going to be on!" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I said, "You got to get this app. I just got it. It's a meditation app." And so she's like, "Where do I go get it?" So, you know, I'm making sales for you. I'm just letting you know.
Awesome. Well, you are very kind. Thank you.
You
Yes.
know,
Well, I'm very excited.
Exactly. So talk about your app, your meditation app, because, and I will say, I bought it, I'm using it, and because my brain is everywhere all the time, it's really hard for me to shut down, you know, and because it's just constantly going. And so it's really, you know, I've only used it for a couple of nights. I've only had it a little bit, but it's definitely, it's definitely starting to help me. So talk about the meditation one, and I really want to understand the brain entrainment one. So talk about that.
Okay, so I'll do this briefly. So the meditation, we've been producing meditations for, you know, through the course of the years for our programs and stuff. So a few years ago, we put together a bundle of 8 or 9 of them, and sold them online for like $27.77. But now with apps and mobile apps, and now we're creating mobile apps. I created 2 right away. One was for the Bob Doyle show, and then one was for the meditation bundle. So now for $1.99, you can get the 8 meditations, and they're on your phone and accessible with you and all of that. And so there are meditations for sleep. There's meditations for centering. There's meditations for visualization. There's meditations for focusing in on your passion, and, you know, just a variety of different things. The brainwave entrainment, which you were talking about, is the binaural beats that the very first thing I ever created and sold on the internet was in 1998. And it was a meditation CD called Flight Waves, which was, you know, binaural beats that induced, by wearing headphones, the either an alpha theta type of state or a theta delta type of state for various depths of, you know, getting into the meditative state for those of us who couldn't focus. Those are part of this program as well. And so it just basically means that when you listen on headphones, your brain is being coaxed into a brainwave state that is suitable for, you know, for the meditative state and things like that. So they just help you along. Not all of the meditations have that. I think there's 3, maybe 4 that have that.
Okay.
I think it's just 3. The rest of them are just guided or whatever.
Okay.
So you can find it at meditationbundle.com. And so meditationbundle.com sells the whole thing, so you get a full description. But right up along the top, it says now available in the App Store, and you can get it on Google Play or iOS or the Amazon App Store.
All right. Okay, that's right. That's right, because Amazon has it too. So that's great. So look, I'm going to wind this up. I know you've got to skedaddle. This has been an amazing conversation for me. As they say, it was good for me. I hope it was good for you.
It's always great for me.
You know, absolutely. I want to make sure that people connect with you on your show on Wednesdays and on Fridays. Wednesdays is always Law of Attraction. Fridays is whatever floats Bob's boat that day. We talk about tech sometimes. We talk about apps. He talks about the weather. He talks to Lynn. It talks to Cody, the dog. You know, it's just whatever happens. So I want to make sure that people definitely watch that. And sir, I so appreciate you. I really do. You have really energized me. You really have.
Well,
I really appreciate
excellent. That. Good. Well, it's probably some of the caffeine that I've been drinking all morning long. Gone through the internet and is now in your headphones. So
exactly.
Anyway,
But yeah, so thank you so much. I really, really do. I really appreciate you being here and spending some time with us. And I will see you tomorrow. And I want everybody else to see him tomorrow. And so with that, once again, everybody, this is Gail Turner Brown for the Entrepreneur Journey. You have been watching Mr. Bob Doyle from The Secret, and we're talking about Law of Attraction, and you guys make sure to watch this later. And we're going to let Bob say goodbye because he's got all kinds of stuff to do. So thank you, sir. All right.
My pleasure. Anytime.
All right. Thanks so much. I will see you guys later. Ta-da.